Welcome, everyone. Today we are delving into the top 10 facts about the Exclusive Brethren cult, also known as the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, a highly secretive and dangerous cult that is hiding in plain sight. Take note, because this journey is going to take you down the rabbit hole. This isn't just any religious group. They've faced allegations of brainwashing, election manipulation, abuse, and fraud. In the following chapters, we'll uncover 10 startling truths. So, let's dive right in. Fact 1. The Exclusive Brethren origins. To get a better understanding of the Exclusive Brethren, we must first journey back in time, specifically to the 1800s. This time in history was a period of significant change and development across the globe, marked by industrial, social, and political transformations, especially in London, England. Indeed, the Exclusive Brethren originated as a faction that separated from another religious church known as the Plymouth Brethren. It appears that these individuals felt that the Plymouth Brethren were not sufficiently devout. Remarkably, in 1848, John Nelson Darby decided to establish his own, more exclusive and stringent version of the Plymouth Brethren. Thus, the Exclusive Brethren were founded. However, Darby probably at the time could not have foreseen that his group would evolve into one of the most sinister and secretive religious organizations in the world. Truly, the consequences were unforeseen. Now, Darby wasn't just content with how the Brethren formation was progressing. With polarizing church views and from his own scriptural interpretation, he believed that the Brethren Christians were special and should adhere to being separated from society. With script taken to the literal context to the likes of 2 Corinthians 6:17. Therefore, come out from them and be separate, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will receive you. That's the world Darby envisioned for the church. He believed the outside world was full of sin, and in order to become holy, they needed to not take part of the world. This resulted in the creation of their own schools, businesses, and close-knit social circles, living in their own world. Which leads us to this next fact. Fact number 2. The radical separation from society. Okay, so imagine this. You wake up in the morning and there's no radio playing your favorite song. No TV to watch cartoons. You get ready for school, but it's not your typical school. It's a tiny school where everyone dresses the same and follows the same strict rules. After school, you can't just hang out with your friends or go to the movies. Nope. You're expected to go straight home and avoid any contact with anyone outside the Brethren. And forget about dating someone who's not part of the church. Most marriages are in fact arranged between families and are tied to business dealings, with the expectation for you to stay living at home until you are married. This is the reality for members of the Exclusive Brethren. For some women who are deemed not marriage material, end up staying with their parents well into their old age, as most who do marry quite young. They live in a world that's carefully curated and controlled by the church, with limited exposure to anything that could challenge their beliefs or way of life. They believe this separation is necessary to maintain their purity and righteousness. But is it really possible to live a fulfilling life when you're so cut off from the rest of the world? Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds crazy. Why would anyone choose to live like this? But unfortunately, it is incredibly hard to leave. See, the thing is, most members of the Exclusive Brethren are born into it. They don't get to choose this life. It's chosen for them. And leaving the Brethren? Well, this is where the element of extreme control comes to light. We're talking about being completely cut off by your family and friends, even your own parents. Imagine the heartbreak of losing everyone you love, just because you wanted to experience the world outside the Brethren's control. It's a level of isolation that's honestly hard to comprehend. Fact number 3. Leadership and church structure. Okay, so we're going deep into the rabbit hole now. We're talking about the Exclusive Brethren's leadership structure, and just like any good business model, it's very hierarchical. But ultimately, they have one leader, who is called the elect vessel. They refer to him as the man of God, and he has all authority. Women have no place in leadership and are regarded as inferior, and must be obedient and submit to their husbands. A woman is never allowed to have authority over a man, whether in the household or in business. The elect vessel is regarded as being like God in human form. And this isn't just a figurehead. This guy has serious power. He's making decisions that affect every single aspect of their lives. We're talking about where they live, what they eat, what they wear, even who they can marry, and what businesses they are allowed to run. It's like he's running a whole other world in secret. And the craziest part? This man is the elect vessel, whose name is Bruce Hales, lives in the northern suburbs of Sydney, Australia. Him and his family are very wealthy, owning private jets to multiple mansions and property. To the outside world, he looks just like a regular businessman. It's actually kind of terrifying when you really think about it. So, the elect vessel makes all these rules, right? And these aren't your average 10 Commandment rules like any other Christian denomination. These are life-altering, Big Brother-esque rules. We're talking about no TV, no internet, no secular music, no radios. They can't even go to the movies. Your cell phone is monitored all the time by a mandatory app installed that tracks everything. Bruce Hales dictates their entire existence, and the members, they are required to just follow along blindly. They believe he has a direct line to God, that he's chosen, appointed, the closest person on earth to God. And if you question him, that's a one-way ticket to being disfellowshipped. We'll talk more about that later in detail, but it is brutal. People have lost families, as well as businesses closed and taken away from them due to Bruce Hales. For the last 2 decades, he's been accused of fleecing his flock and robbing them of millions, but we'll discuss more on that in another video. Fact number 4, closed communion. Okay, so most Christian denominations, they have this thing called communion, right? It's like a symbolic ritual, sharing bread and wine to remember Jesus and how Christ died for our sins. It's about unity and bringing people together. Well, the exclusive brethren, they take a slightly different approach. Instead, they call it closed communion, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Exclusive, super exclusive. See, in the brethren world, only members in good standing are allowed to participate. We're talking about people who follow every single rule, no exceptions. If you have stepped out of line or caused any problems within the organization, then you become barred from receiving communion. Communion is also extended to general meals, which disallows them to have a meal with anyone outside of the church. Doing so would see them in breach of the rules. The communion service in the exclusive brethren is held weekly, usually on Sunday mornings. It is a private event, attended only by baptized members of the brethren. The service is marked by simplicity and reverence, with no musical instruments, and the focus is entirely on prayer, scripture reading, and the breaking of bread. Fact number 5, strict rules to live by. One of the key differences when identifying a brethren member is the restrictive living practices, and one of the main ones that stick out to someone outside the church is the use of technology. Forget about scrolling through TikTok or binge-watching Netflix, because the brethren are required to block all forms of media. No TV, no internet or smartphones, unless it's strictly for work. They claim it's to protect them from the evils of the world. Attending university is banned and only allowed by applying to church leaders and conducting the studies remotely. And they don't want anyone getting any ideas. Homosexuality is also banned. Anyone who comes out as being gay is deemed as being corrupted. There are several reports of chemical castration, disownership, and strong conversion therapy conducted to past homosexual members. But wait, there's more. These rules also extend to every aspect of their lives, including fashion, which is a way to distinguish that someone is a part of the cult. Forget about expressing yourself through clothing because the brethren have a strict dress code. Women? Think long skirts, long sleeves, and hair always covered by a headband or scarf. Men? Suits with no ties, a telltale sign of being a part of the church. It's like stepping back in time. And don't even get me started on the jobs they're allowed to have. You won't find any brethren working as artists, musicians, or actors. They're encouraged to stay within the brethren-owned businesses. For creative skills like marketing, these roles often fulfilled outside of the community by normal people. Most of the time, it is hard for normal people to integrate, due to the lack of understanding and how they get treated differently to their brethren co-workers. Fact number 6. Disfellowship. So, we've talked about the exclusive brethren's strict rules. But what happens when you break those rules? It's called disfellowshipping or shutting up. A very dangerous practice. Imagine being cut off from everyone you love. You can't talk to them. You can't even look at them. To them, it is like you never even existed. The psychological impact is devastating. Imagine the mental toll on young people, thrown into the world with nothing but trauma. So many stories of pain and isolation. The scars run deep, with many ex-members coming forth about the practice. They claim it's about love, but it feels cruel. Fear of disfellowshipping controls people, constantly walking on eggshells. It's a suffocating existence. Disfellowshipping is a dark practice, with many members coming forward sharing experiences about the practice. More needs to be made known and they need to be held accountable. No one deserves this. Fact number 7. Education and employment is controlled. Like most other aspects of their life, they don't get a say on where they are able to go to school, with limited teaching and an already predetermined career path. Brethren children go to brethren-run schools called One School Global. The curriculum is very specific, focused mostly on religious doctrines, with only some subjects whitelisted. They are also heavily funded by state and federal governments, yet are not regarded as a private school. And the internet? No Google, no YouTube, no social media. They're cut off from the way the rest of the world communicates. And it doesn't end with education, guys. Once these kids grow up, they're expected to work within the brethren community. It's a closed economic system, keeping money within the group. They grow up, go to their schools, work for their businesses, marry within the group. It's a never-ending cycle, generation after generation of indoctrination. They are raised to believe that they are special and that they are above everyone else in society. This leads to children that are raised in the Brethren Church with a severe case of entitlement, are generally narcissist and sometimes hold even racist and sexist views of others. Many inheriting family businesses and wealth at a young age and have no idea how the real world works. To those outside of the church who are thinking of working within a Brethren business, our advice is to avoid it at all costs. Fact number 8. The church's tax-free charity status. The exclusive brethren are well known to use the power of their tax-free charity status, but probably one thing they're surprisingly open about. These guys, who shun the outside world, they love a good tax break. In many countries, the brethren have managed to secure charitable status for their churches and organizations. This means they don't have to pay certain taxes, just like other religious groups and nonprofits. It's like they're using their charitable status as a firewall to protect their own assets and as a way to deflect scrutiny from their more controversial practices. And it's not just about the money, guys. It's about the influence that comes with it. Recently, to overcome this bad image of tax avoidance, the church has created a charitable organization known as the Rapid Relief Team. The Rapid Relief Team, commonly known as RRT, was established in 2013 by the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. The PBCC describe it as a global organization driven by a desire to provide compassionate support and assistance to those in need during times of crisis. The RRT operates across several continents, including North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia, with a focus on delivering aid quickly and effectively. With their distinctive blue uniforms, RRT volunteers can be seen on the front lines of disaster zones, serving meals to emergency personnel, distributing relief packs to families in need, and lending a helping hand wherever it's needed most. However, when you dig into the financial side of things, very little of their donations actually make their way to the people that need it most, with funds instead funneled up to the elect vessel and his family, with most of this done for show to restore the image of the PBCC. There have been investigations, inquiries, all sorts of attempts to get a closer look at the Brethren's finances and how they operate, with businesses set up as firewalls and multiple shell companies that makes tracing funds very difficult. Plus, they've got some pretty good lawyers. Whether they are operating in the bounds of what is legal, it's not just about the money. It's about transparency and accountability. If the Brethren are truly a charitable organization, then they should be open and honest about their finances and how they're using their resources. But instead, they're shrouded in secrecy. How can an organization be so wealthy, yet doesn't help those in need? Critics claim that the Brethren use RRT as a public relations tool to improve their image and gain social acceptance. One of the most contentious issues surrounding RRT is the perception that their charitable efforts are selectively applied. Former members of the Plymouth Brethren have alleged that RRT's aid is often directed primarily towards communities where the Brethren have a presence or where they can garner positive publicity. Fact number 9. Wealth and business. Okay, so we've talked about their strict rules, their separation from the outside world. It's like they live in a whole different reality, right? The Brethren, they're not just about religion, they're also about business, big business. There's evidence suggesting that Brethren businesses often operate in a closed-loop system, where contracts are awarded within the group and profits are kept within the network. This raises concerns about fairness and transparency in the way these businesses compete in the broader market. From a former member, I've seen firsthand how the Brethren prioritize business success within their community. There's a lot of pressure to use Brethren-owned services and products, and that can stifle competition and innovation. On the surface, this might seem like a story of hard work and entrepreneurial success, but critics argue that the Brethren's business dealings are far from straightforward. One of the most controversial aspects of the Brethren's business dealings is the level of influence they are believed to wield in political and economic spheres. Through donations, lobbying, and strategic alliances, Brethren-owned businesses have allegedly secured lucrative government contracts and influenced policy decisions in their favor. Many of their companies are privately held, making it difficult to scrutinize their financial practices. This lack of transparency has fueled speculation about the true nature of their business dealings and whether they are adhering to ethical standards. Former members and critics also point to the control that the Brethren leadership exerts over business decisions. It is alleged that significant financial contributions to the church are expected, and that business success is closely tied to one's standing within the community. So, how do they do it? How do they manage to build this massive business empire while staying so under the radar? Well, for starters, they stick together. Brethren members, they mostly do business with other Brethren members, and they have created a closed distribution system of wealth. They have their own investment and accounting firms, one of which was recently shut down in Australia by the tax office, known as UBT Accounting. UBT, short for Universal Business Team, with its parent company being the church, conducted all the accounting for major Brethren businesses. They don't need the outside world, and they definitely don't want outsiders looking. And because they're so private, it's hard to track exactly how much money they're making. Some experts say they're worth billions, due to the amount of property and manufacturing industries they operate in. The pressure to succeed in business is immense, and there's an unspoken rule that you must contribute financially to the church if you want to stay in good standing. It creates a culture where money and religion are deeply intertwined. Members are expected to give a significant portion of their income to the church. Most are pressured into purchasing services from UBT, especially with the UBT presence demonstrated and felt at all church events. The separation of church and state becomes nearly impossible to distinguish. Fact number 10. Political lobbying and coercion. Okay, so we've talked about the Brethren's beliefs, their lifestyle, their business dealings. But there's a whole other side to this story, a dark side. Over the years, there have been so many stories, so many accusations of abuse against this group to both adults and minors. We're talking about former members coming forward recalling stories of psychological control, of families being torn apart, of people being shunned and ostracized for the smallest infractions along with physical and sexual abuse. It's like they control every aspect of your life, and if you step out of line even a little bit, you're out. And then there are the political connections. The Brethren have been accused of using their wealth and influence to lobby politicians, to sway and control elections in countries such as Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. They've even been investigated for potential voter fraud. They've won multiple state and federal government contracts over the decades to enrich Brethren businesses, such as COVID-19. A construction and design company managed to secure billions in government funding overnight for PPE and COVID tests, an industry they have no experience in. In a Brethren meeting in New Zealand in 2023, an area of focus was centered on creating a crisis in society so that they can reap the benefit of it. As demonstrated during the COVID-19 crisis, do they have members controlling things from the inside of our governments? It may sound crazy, but the more you learn about this group, the more you realize that anything is possible. Now, the Brethren, they deny all of this, of course. They say they're just a religious group trying to live a simple life according to their beliefs. But the evidence makes things very hard to ignore. There are just too many stories of past ex-members, too many people coming forward with similar experiences. Ex-Brethren, journalists, researchers, they've been trying to get to the bottom of this for years. But the Brethren, they make it really difficult. They're extremely private. They don't talk to outsiders. And when questioned, they can become dangerous, with threats of legal action, stalking, spying, and various intimidation tactics. And that's the most frustrating part, right? The lack of transparency and hypocrisy against what they believe. They are very frustrating to deal with and can often get aggressive when questioned. If there's reports of abuse, why not be open to further investigation? It just makes you wonder, what are they so afraid of? And what else are they hiding? So there you have it, guys. The exclusive Brethren. A cult hidden in plain sight, surrounded by controversy and, honestly, a lot of unanswered questions. From their strict rules and separation from the outside world to their vast wealth and political influence, it's clear that there's more to this story than meets the eye. Thank you for watching the top 10 facts about the exclusive Brethren. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we uncover more about the exclusive Brethren and what they are currently doing in society. Let us know in the comments what you think about the exclusive Brethren. If you are also a part of the Brethren cult, have stumbled across this video and need help and assistance, you can contact these organizations. In the UK, the Family Survival Trust website and the Cult Information Center. In Australia, CIFS Australia. In America, Safe Passage Foundation. Until next time, bye for now.